coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut.
Damn, just recently we had a mother contact us, and his son is somewhere on the other side of the globe, and I forget where exactly, but this is in the past couple months. So 2022 stuff, and it's like my son took a round of the helmet, and he can't get a new one right now that fits him, and we're having to come out of our own pocket to buy him a new ballistic helmet. Yeah. And we heard about you. Can you help us out? And we're like, yeah, absolutely, no question. But the thing, Eric, that for law enforcement and for the military and the civilian market, and also fire, rescue, EMS, is if anything good has come out of 20 years of warfare from 01 to now, is the advancements in all of this kind of tactical technology.
All right, welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and today we are going to talk about nonprofits. I have with me the founder of Cops Direct, which would be copsdirect.org. Aaron, say your last name again.
Negherbon.
Okay.
Negherbon.
I didn't want to mess that up. Negherbon.
No,
got it. All right, let me get this up here. We were discussing a little bit earlier. I was trying to... I don't always know who my guests are going to be because people schedule, and, as long as it is appropriate and fits the narrative of this show, I just let it roll. So I had seen that he was with Cops Direct, and I was like, all right, it's a worthy cause. Let me get him on the schedule here. And we just started chit-chatting before we got going here. And
probably should have recorded half of that stuff, too.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, I do. I have missed out on some good conversation. Before, because we get going and some people they think we're already recording. They don't even know. And I'm like, no, we're not recording yet. So, but you're not police, you're not firefighter, you're not military.
Right.
So you're really outside of the mold for what I typically have on here, but you're definitely not the first to come on that is involved heavily with law enforcement or some sort of first responder, but are not part of that world. So with that said, sir, how are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you guys having us on. I love the name of your show. I love the fact that you're out of North Texas. I get out there quite often for a myriad of reasons, and it's great to get to know you more.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Texas, me being I originally grew up in Flint, Michigan, so getting out of that and down here it's two different worlds, man, and I love it down here.
I'll tell you something with that. I don't know when this is going to air, but between Michigan and TCU, you've got some lines drawn in the sand there somewhere, between Michigan and Texas.
Oh yeah, I started a whole shitstorm because got to stick strong to your roots, man. Remember where you came from, and I grew up on Michigan football. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, Desmond Howard, that was my guy back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Be playing backyard football and you call out who you are. And I'd always, my buddies.
That's right. I forgot about doing this.
Yeah. My buddies, they're calling out pro guys and I'm calling out Desmond Howard. I'm like, that's my dude. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm a big baseball guy. So man, I remember going to the original Tiger Stadium when we'd go back to Detroit for business and stuff like that way back when. And in the old stadium, and seeing Cecil Fielder there, and there was no foul territory, and so literally, I mean, you're sitting right here, and Cecil Fielder is like right there at first base. And it's the most amazing thing in the world. Maybe like seeing Desmond Howard on the sidelines or something like that in Michigan game.
Yeah, you could hear Cecil Fielder's breathing machine that they'd bring out to him when he'd on the first.
Hear him sucking the food out of his teeth from between innings that he was working on. So great ball player though, man.
Yep.
Great ball player.
I had an uncle. He's at the airport, and Cecil was riding the plane with him. Met Cecil Fielder, got his autograph for me on a baseball, all that stuff. He signed an article, and that's how they got the conversation going. My family member was reading an article about Cecil Fielder, and Cecil Fielder noticed it, and that's how the conversation started.
Oh, really? Yeah. Very cool.
It was
very cool.
I think it was something along the lines like, like, you Tigers fan? And he's like, oh, I love him. And he hadn't quite looked up at him yet. And he's like,
Yeah.
I really like this guy. And he's pointing at Cecil Fielder, who's on the thing. And he's like, well, I appreciate that. And that's how the conversation got going. So
That's one of those things where you don't know if Cecil Fielder's going to look the other way and just be like, God, please don't notice me, or be like, hey,
yep,
here I am, you know?
yep,
No,
for
that's
sure.
awesome. That's awesome.
Well,
So yeah.
brother, okay, so let's get to know you a little bit better. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Did you have people in your family that were in the service, military, police, firefighters, anything like that?
Yeah, really it's one of those things where if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. And I was born and raised in Oakland, California, and it's just one of those things where grew up there, went to high school there. My family had car dealerships in Oakland. That's part of the reason why we were out in Detroit all the time, and then moved out to the suburbs right before I went off to college, and went to college down in Southern California at USC, and that was really kind of the baseline of stuff. And grew up an A's fan and grew up a Raiders fan. Didn't really care about Cal football or any of the stuff up here in Northern California. But now we're out here in San Ramon, California, which is just about 30 miles east of San Francisco. And so I get into USC, and I go down there for college, University of Southern California. And
What was your
I come
major?
back.
What was your major?
Business with an emphasis in marketing, and I did some finance stuff as well.
Okay.
So, but my thing was, I grew up in the car business, and so I knew going through high school and college I wanted to be in the car business. And my dad's like, "Don't get in the car business. Don't go do something else." And I'm like, "No, I want to do this." And I grew up driving the parts truck and sweeping the floors and doing all that kind of stuff. And so in high school or in college, one of my guys who I befriended, my next door neighbor in the apartments, he graduates in 95 with me, and he goes straight into the Marine Corps. He knew he wanted to do that, and that's what he wanted to do. And was like, right on. And this is before 9/11. This is after the original Desert Storm. So it's mid 90s. So there's never really a call to serve at that time, as opposed to, in 2001 or 2002 or something like that. And I return home, graduate on Saturday, and on Monday I've got my suit and tie, and I'm going to work, kind of thing. And so as time rolls on, we keep in contact, but he's deploying to places around the globe, and I'm all about God bless America and all those things. But the military was always kind of a passive thought in people's minds until 9/11 in many respects, right? And but so during our time in the car business, being in Oakland, we really befriended a lot of the Oakland police force that was, assigned to the beats around, where we had our dealerships and stuff like that. And tied to that, we really started to befriend this sergeant. His name was Art Mitchell, and he was a sergeant. He was literally, he's like they've got his name, like a brass bust of him in the locker room. And the guy's like legend in Oakland police. And so we befriend Art Mitchell, who's the sergeant of the crime prevention unit, which sounds like task force or something like that. And he goes, hey, we could really use some help. If you know any resources, whatever, if we can ever use a desk to write reports or use your bathroom or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever you need, go with it. But what started, which was really cool, was we were always having these trade-ins come in all the time. And being that we were in Oakland, half of them were just absolute buckets. They're on their last limbs, rusted out, no hubcaps, no nothing. So what we were doing was we were giving Oakland police, the CPU unit, all these trade-ins for like 24 or 48 hours so they could use them as undercars. And they've never really worried about, burning them, because they were going to turn them back into us after a day or two. Then we'd send them off to the auction or get them car crusher or whatever.
Okay.
And so, we really kind of started to forge this bond. And so I did with law enforcement. And then as that relationship grew, you remember the old Nextel phones that were
Yeah.
like phone and walkie
Push to
talkie?
talk. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're like, you know what? We need to have our own comms channel outside of OPD's larger, system, just so that we can, talk and all that stuff. Uh, but at a longer distance than the walkie talkies that you get at, Dick's or Walmart or something like that.
Yeah.
So we hooked up that crime prevention with like, I don't know, it was like 10 Nextels. But so again, the relationship keeps building. And so, it was just, you start to appreciate what law enforcement is doing. And then when when Y2K happened, we actually cleared out one of our entire lots, like the evening of Y2K, the December 31 of 99. We like cleared out our whole like parking lot so they could land the helicopter there in case it was Armageddon and everything, rippled in time at midnight or whatever. But so it kind of goes on like that. And if I'm talking too much, just feel free to tell me to shut up.
No,
But
no, no. I'm curious. Like, are they compensating you for any of the assistance, or is this just you guys charity
no,
donations type
just
things?
love, just love. Hey,
Okay.
but frankly, look, the more we've got cops around our dealerships, the less wheels we're gonna get stolen off of our cars, and the less catalytic converters we're gonna get taken out from underneath ours. Because Oakland is still Oakland. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it, but it's not the most, wasn't the most safest place in town. So yeah, there was no tit for tat, Um, and but remind me to tell you the Crown Victoria story at some point also. But so anyways, so the kind of the relationship keeps on going, and we just have a great bond with them. And actually, one of the guys that was on that crime prevention unit is now on our board of directors. Just the relationships you keep. But so anyways, so the relationship is there. And then in 2002, we wind up selling the car dealerships in Oakland because it was just no longer a place to be selling cars anymore. Everyone had moved out to the suburbs. People were going out there to buy cars and stuff. So we leave Oakland and I start a career in real estate, property management, mortgage lending, all those kind of things. Really enjoying it. Not my favorite thing, but it was paying the bills. And at this time, 9/11 has popped off. And my buddy who was in the Marine Corps I went to college with is now in Fallujah in 2004, gets a Purple Heart there. We're staying in contact and all that. And as things go along, it's 2010 now. His birthday is May 28th, which is the same as my dad's birthday. So I always remember it very easy. And ironically, his wife, who's also in the Marine Corps, her birthday is May 29th. So they're literally like back to back, birthdays. But so I call her. And again, I've never been in the service, Eric. I mean, nothing. And actually, the badge back here, this is going back to old school stuff. My grandfather passed away a year ago. But back then, like, you could be deputized as a sheriff and get like your own badge, like back in the 50s and 60s. So like when he passed, I got this out of his bureau. I think he kept it in his car or his golf cart until he passing, and just in case he gets pulled over, he can flash his credentials. So as a civilian, I call his wife up and say, hey, I want to send him a care package. And I don't know what to send him. Never sent a care package in my life.
Candy.
And so I'm like, okay, that's the assumption. Candies, cookie, all that.
If he's in a forward deployed location, candy for sure.
Well, you're right. But his wife, and he's the company commander. So he's got about 120, 150 Marines under his command.
Oh, that's right. He's an officer. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a captain, and he is, but he went out of college, although he graduated with a degree, he went in and enlisted because he wanted to be in the shed. Which is kind of funny,
Well, you get more respect in the military when you've gone enlisted to officer. I think personally I've seen. So
yeah. So and I forget the actual progression of of his career as pertains to rank in the earlier stages. I think he's a lieutenant colonel now, still in.
Nice.
But so his wife goes, send him the basics. So I go to, instead of getting one of those APO boxes that's this big, I go to Home Depot and get this big, like 20 by 20 box. And I'm putting toothpaste in there and power bars and socks and sunscreen and all that stuff. And ship it off to Afghanistan. Think nothing of it. Go on with my life. And then like 3 weeks later, I get an email from him and he goes, holy shit. He goes, I just got your box. And he goes, I need all this stuff, but the Marines under my command need even more than I do. And these guys were in ditches catching bullets all day. They were not up at Camp Leatherneck in Helmand Province, just sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Right.
And he goes, so I'm giving everything to them. Again, I'm a civilian, so I've never been in his situation.
Yep.
Let alone one of law enforcement where there's a need. And I'm like, dude, don't you have this stuff? I mean, aren't there like, C-130s just doing drops on you? And aren't there like, Connex boxes all over the battle space where you just get what you need and, you can all that stuff. And he's like, dude, we have nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know what you need. You're one of my best friends. So you tell this civilian what you need and I will get it for you and I will send it to wherever you want and we'll just figure it out later kind of thing.
So what he realized at that point was he should have joined the Air Force.
Well, there's that old joke. It's like, Marine Corps, sir, we have no comms. Army, sir, we have no comms. Navy, sir, we have no comms. Air Force, yes, hello, front desk. My Wi-Fi is a little slow today.
If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera. No strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you, or reach out to me, and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today or reach out to me. Tell them 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
But so I'm like, okay, dude, what do you need? And there was no, we need logs of dip and we need more, Skittles and we need that. It was my corpsmen, which, medics and on that side of stuff, they need, stethoscopes. We need more eye protection. We need gun lubricant. We need shoelaces. We need all this like critically needed stuff. And I'm like, I got you. So he's telling me what they need. And I'm literally just maxing out credit cards, getting stuff for these 120 Marines doing God's work over there and just shipping it out. And never once was it, hey, again, cartons of cigarettes or, hey, can you give us some luxuries? All this needed stuff.
Yeah.
And then other guys in the battle space were saying, "Hey, Captain, where are you getting all this stuff?" And he's like, "My buddy's sending it to me." And then, and in short, it was like, "Hey, uh, Captain so and so told us to give you a call or an email. Can you help us out too?" And how do you say no to one guy when you've said yes to another guy?
Right.
And so now we're helping other company commanders inside of their larger battalion. And it goes on and on and on. And we didn't have signs up, on Highway 1 on the way back to Leatherneck saying, "If you need shit, give us a call."
Right.
Uh, and then, Eric, we're getting calls from, we're getting calls from SEAL teams, getting calls from Light Armored Recon. We're getting calls from every branch of service except for the Air Force.
Yeah, we got money. We got money. We got what we need.
Yeah, but and and so that was really where Troops Direct starts there in 2010. And I remember, like, we were so busy, but I still had a day job.
So
And
you created another nonprofit before the Cops Direct.
correct.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even at Cops Direct yet. I mean,
yeah.
and it wasn't by design. I didn't wake up one day and say, "Gee, I need to do something. Let's start a charity." God, no. I mean,
Yeah.
to the world, don't start a charity, let alone two. Okay, go do something else.
That's
As great as
when I started this podcast, that's what everybody told me to do, was do a nonprofit. Well, I'm an idiot. So I start looking into this stuff and I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, look, I didn't even intend to do a business. The only reason I made it an LLC was just to protect myself in case somebody sued me.
Yeah.
And then you can sue the company that's not worth shit. So that's it. But yeah, I looked into being a .org or whatever, and I still to this day I don't know how to do all that stuff. I'm not a business guy, so I can't imagine doing two of them. But I imagine once you get one going, the second one, the paperwork side of things, you should already know what you're doing.
Oh, well, it's a lot easier to use LegalZoom and you learn this after the fact for $500 than go to an attorney that someone referred you to for the first time around, who's you gotta spend a lot more with. But it was a great attorney who gave us a lot of love on the formation. But I remember going to my dad, and his office was like right across the lobby from my office here in San Ramon, just coincidentally. And he goes, "How's that military thing that you're doing?" And I said, it's slammed. I said, "I love doing it." But at the same time, our first son, Noah, was on the way, and all these things. And so I'm like, Dad, I'm going to hang it up because I've got bigger things to deal with now. Family stuff and all that. And he goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I hate real estate. I hate mortgages. I hate property management. I don't like it. I have no heart there. I'm just going through the motions." And I said, "But I love this Troops Direct thing." And he goes, "Then you've got to go with your heart, trust in God, say a prayer, and jump and make it happen." And I remember going back that night, literally that night. I just needed someone to kind of go like this, and it was my dad, who it often is. And I said, "Honey, I'm leaving, the real estate industry." And she goes, "You're doing what?" And I said, "I have to do this." And so Troops Direct just starts snowballing as I'm investing more time in it, more time in it, more time in it. Not knowing, Eric, how to do a charity at all. I mean, literally, it's not like putting a parachute on someone, static line, saying, "Jump out of the plane. Don't worry, that thing's going to catch and you'll sail down to the ground from 1,000 feet." I mean, it was like doing a halo jump in the middle of a night with a new moon, fogged in over the ocean kind of jump. I mean, into hostile territory kind of thing.
And they threw you shootout second. You had to find it in the air.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And and by the way, all your ammo is wet. And so, but you just, I'm just going through it, and it starts just snowballing. And again, we're getting every type of individual, serving our nation everywhere on the globe now. It's not just Afghanistan. It's, hey, we're in Syria. Hey, we're in Africa. Hey, we're, in other places I still to this day I can't talk about. And we're supporting with critically needed stuff, generator parts, stuff for landmine mitigation, IED stuff, water purification, uniforms, optics, comms. No one's saying, hey, can you send us, the DVD set of Lord of the Rings or whatever,
Yeah. How are you guys getting the funding now? Because it sounds like this is beyond what a real estate agent can afford.
Well, I mean, in the early days, I mean, that was part of the reason I was going to hang up Troops Direct is I was literally just maxing out my credit cards. I mean, this wasn't, hey, I'm going to buy this for you, but you owe me, $5,422 for these items here. I'm not going to invoice Americans that are getting blown up over on the other side of the globe. I mean, I'm just not going to do it. It's not the way I'm built.
Right.
And I remember like having, our first like fundraiser at like the Mexican restaurant in town. Understand then, Eric, in 2010, 11, 12, we were still hot and heavy on the, over, in CENTCOM, if you will. And, but we raised like $5,000 and I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, it was like, all of a sudden it was like, I can say yes to these guys now that have asked me for stuff that I said I can't because I don't have any more money to do this for you. And then all of a sudden, I mean, like it was just some tenacity. I reached out to like Fox and Friends, like emailed them cold. I mean, like naive, like, oh yeah, they'll respond to my email immediately, which they never do, but they did. And they're like, you're doing what? And everyone's like, bullshit. There's no way this guy's doing this stuff. It's impossible. It can't be done. This guy's a con artist, whatever. And I go back to some of the guys that we were supporting all the way up to a colonel at the time. And I said, I need your help. Can you write an email and say what we're doing is legit? And they did. And Fox and Friends goes, holy God. And so the next thing I know, I'm on Fox and Friends. Nice. And like we had a little online donation portal on this like homemade website that I built like on the counter at Starbucks. And, and the public just got on it. And, then we started doing golf tournaments and, direct mail has always been a very big part of what we do to let the public know that we exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because frankly, also on the side of law enforcement too, the people don't grasp the fact that our service members have these needs. And moreover, now people don't realize that our service members are still in over 100 countries around the globe.
Yeah. And the other part that people don't really pay attention to is when you hear the term military grade, don't let that fool you and think that you're getting some top-notch gear. You're getting the lowest fucking bidder. That's what you're getting. So like when I was on, I was scheduled for deployment. I never deployed, just so people are like, not feeling sorry for me.
There's no difference between going overseas and serving at home. I mean, I've learned that over time is that everybody puts in work in their own kind of way, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. And you get like me for a long time. I felt like I hadn't served because I didn't go over during a time of war, but the older I've got, the more my thought has matured around the fact. I was like, well, it's luck of the draw, and my mission was needed somewhere else and I served my mission. So, but when I was getting ready to go, they're giving us like your battle gear basically. And, I'm holding these plates, these, rifle plates, and they weighed like 10, 15. I mean, they're heavy as shit. Yeah. So I start doing research and I'm like, there's gotta be lighter ones out there. Like, but you're not allowed to wear those because they weren't issued. I didn't give a shit. If I was about to go overseas and my life was on the line, I was going to try to get the money together to buy stuff that would make me more combat efficient, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
And I found plates that were like 2.5 pounds a piece. And I was like, holy shit. And they, their protective level is just as good, if not better. So I was getting my family together and saying, can you put some money together to help me get these in case I deploy? And now luckily I didn't, but they did. They got the money together and were about to purchase. And finally, I was like, nope, don't worry about it. Stand
Yeah.
down. We don't need it. But that's the type of stuff that we're talking about. Is people think the military gets everything that they need and want, and that's just not the case. And there's
No.
always better out there. There's always better.
There's better, there's budgets, there's logistics. I mean, even to this day, I mean, just recently, we had a mother contact us, and his son is somewhere on the other side of the globe, and I forget where exactly, but this is in the past couple months. So 2022 stuff. And it's like my son took a round of the helmet, and he can't get a new one right now that fits him, and we're having to come out of our own pocket to buy him a new ballistic helmet.
Yeah.
And we heard about you, can you help us out? And we're like, yeah, absolutely, no question. But the thing, Eric, that for law enforcement and for the military and the civilian market, and also fire, rescue, EMS, is if anything good has come out of 20 years of warfare from '01 to now, is the advancements in all of this kind of tactical technology on
Yeah.
the tactical side, the quality of materials that are being used, the weight of them, plates, helmets, medical, all that stuff. I mean, it's created a whole new industrial revolution in the realm of that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep. When the Dallas 5 happened, when the 5 officers were killed, people, without even like really asking me, they got together and they got me a ballistic vest, like with those plates that I was telling you about, the 2.5 pound ones. I think it's American Blast Systems is the ones that make these ones. But yeah, they got me a vest to carry around with me in case shit hit the fan. Just because they know police is the same as the military when it comes to equipment. You're getting the lowest bidder. They have to put out 3 bids minimum with different companies, and that's just the system. And you always get the lowest one. And there's so much better out there. I could name a million. Strandhog is one of my favorites. First Spear, that's a great company. They make some of the top notch shit, but I can't afford it. I just can't.
I'll tell you something. I'm old school in certain respects. Like London Bridge Trading has been around forever, and I mean they're old school, but their stuff is still. I mean, you can't kill it. But on the other end of it, you've got like Sean Matson. He was with the SEAL teams. He's got his company Matbock, Matbock, and some of their stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like you want to go on their website to look at stuff. It costs you like a few $100. It's like that. And but I mean, the quality, the technology, the experience, the real world experience that these guys are bringing to these new products like First Spear and all that stuff. I mean, it's phenomenal.
I had Wymie. I had Wymie from Act of Valor. He was one of the SEALs that they portrayed on there. He's got his own knife company, Wymie Cutlery, and he came on the show, and we talked a little bit about the knife making and stuff like that. And like his knives are crazy expensive, but he makes them all by hand himself. Like you're getting his work. You're not getting like a mass production of something he's developed. Like it's his work. He makes that shit. So
like, I mean, same like Andy Arabito, who's with the teams. He's got half-face blades.
Yes, and we talked about him. My favorite knife that I've ever seen is made by that guy.
The coolest guy you will ever meet. Ever.
You know him?
I can't say that we're buddy, but if I text him, hey bro, it's Aaron. How you doing? Can you help me out with something? He'd be like, yeah, if he wasn't on a movie set or something like that, because he was in 13 hours and all that. And
get him on this podcast.
I'm happy to, I got his number on my phone. So
hell yeah.
From Act of Valor, I remember our first golf tournament actually, Rourke Denver, who was one of the stars of the movie. Him and Dave Hansen kind of took the lead in the movie.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Rourke out at the SHOT Show. And this is in like 2012. And I go, hey, dude, I said, I need your help. Like he had just gotten out of the teams. And I said, would you come talk at our golf tournament, our first golf tournament? And so I was like this big draw. It was, movie star, Navy SEAL, Rourke Denver, and now they're just guys to us, you know. But um, you know, it's funny. I mean, the industrialism has come from real world people, and I mean, the big one we can talk about in a little bit, but you know, on the medical side of stuff, I mean, the
Yeah.
advancements that have been made, and we now, Eric, use TACMed Solutions, Tactical Medical Solutions, out of Anderson, South Carolina, for like 99% of all of our medical equipment for military and for the cops. Because Ross Johnson, who is the chairman of the company, the founder of it, he was an 18 Delta, so he's a Green Beret medic. And he created the tourniquet that we all know and use today. And prior to him, with a sewing machine that he shipped with him in the battle space, so he was making tourniquets. It was all World War II beaches of Normandy era stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy how much stuff has been created and then hijacked overseas and used, and you know, getting recreated for, you know, 10 cents on the dollar, you know, overseas, unfortunately. But it's all good stuff.
Yeah, but then you're paying for the quality versus the quick, fast labor that you're getting over there. Another company, Mil-Spec Monkey. That's the only company I buy my backpacks from. And, that dude, like anything. Like I reached out to him before because one of the stitchings on my thing had broke loose. And it wasn't because of anything that they did wrong. It got caught on a escalator, and the escalator just fucking popped it. Said, hey man, I was like, I finally found something that broke your backpack. And he's like, what happened? I tell him, and he's like, I got you. Sends me a new one. So yeah.
But you know, with Troops Direct in the early days too, I mean, we were going out to these companies and they didn't know us from Adam, but we were telling them what we were doing. Like, dude, we got your back. I mean, like, I think of like Team Wendy helmets. I mean, we were having helmet orders come through, and I was able to meet the CEO of Team Wendy, Jose Rizzo Patron, was awesome guy in the world. He just retired from them because Avon bought the company. But like, whatever you need, we got your back. Right in Burleson, Texas, right there by you guys, Frog Lube is a CLP company, and Larry Lasky, he was in the teams forever. And this is a funny story. Is in the early days of Troops Direct, we'd set up like an 800 number, which still up to date, 877-97 troops. And I got a voicemail, and we hadn't started helping any team guys out yet, SEAL team guys. And I get this call. I was like, yeah, my name's Larry, and I'm a SEAL, and I've got this product to sell you. And if to know Larry is to love him, these guys love him to death. He's got kind of this low voice like this.
Yeah.
And whenever I see him, he and his wife, Stacy, she was like, do that thing that you do about Larry, his voicemail. So I always do the invitation like this. But I call him up, and he was living in San Diego at the time. He's like, I got this product. And I'm like, we got requests for CLP, so we'll take it. And, you know, and so they moved to Texas. But I mean, like, the innovation that came from that, and I mean, we've been using that and getting requests for all the time, but great product. I remember being on Fox News, and my phone rings, and it's the CEO of Mechanics Gloves, Jim Hale. And Jim
wear those at work.
and Jim Hale passed away a few years ago. But and his son Michael now is awesome dude, is running Mechanics now, and they're in Southern California. It was like, whatever you need, you let us know, we got you. And Wiley X eye protection, same thing. I mean, whatever you need, you let us know, we got you.
Nice.
Yeah. And
so you get the Troops Direct going. What sounds like you got it well established. And what was the transition from that to police? Because I mean, you already had kind of the background with police, and you kind of were doing the same thing, but you hadn't named it yet. And then you got out of the game because you weren't dealing cars anymore.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there was never a thought about helping out law enforcement. But I knew known cops. You know, I've been in the sheriff's posse out here, which is more of a support organization than an actual reserve kind of thing. And just always had good working relationships with law enforcement. You know, a lot of my friends were cops, firefighters, you know, civil servants and stuff like that. And so some guys are starting to get out of the military. They've done their 3, 4, 6, 10 years, whatever. And there's that transition often from military over to law enforcement.
Yep. That's what I
So
did.
yeah, and so I'm starting to get just these random calls from people, not all the time, but one here, one there, and it's hey, you don't remember me, but you helped my unit out when we were in Kandahar, or we were in Mosul, or we were in Mogadishu, or wherever it was. And I'm a cop now, and I need, some stuff that our department doesn't have. Can you help us out, even though I'm a cop now? And I was like, no, that's not what we do. But thanks for the call. Rah rah. And then I was talking to a couple of the local cops here that I knew that come to our golf tournaments, things like that, for Troops Direct. And I'm like, is this, I'm getting this call. Is this a real issue? Because again, dumb civilian, don't cops have everything they need? And this is before defund the police and Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these things that were put up as threats to law enforcement before Ferguson's and all those things. And there was this, like our department's okay, but a lot of departments have these needs. And so what I did is I did a little more sniffing around, and I realized that there was a larger issue. And this is 2016. And Troops Direct is still growing. I mean, both organizations are still growing today. They never stop growing and evolving and getting better. But so I go to the direct mail company that we were using for Troops Direct. And I said, hey, can you help me just do learning what I learned from the Troops Direct side? Can you help me just do kind of some test marketing to see if I can get public support on supporting law enforcement this way? Because no one had ever seen a Troops Direct model before. It was not cookies and candy and the assembly line packages. It was all, you tell us exactly what you need, we'll acquire it for you and send it wherever you are on the globe, and that's it, no charge. So what if we took this concept and underfunded, undersupported police departments can contact us, tell us exactly what they need. We'll acquire it. We'll send it right there to their department in, Billings, Montana, Dallas, Texas, Flint, Michigan, whatever. And they're like, all right, cool. And so what we did is it was kind of this mass thing of, hey, but I first met with the sheriff here in Contra Costa County, where we are in Northern California. And I said, Sheriff, I got this idea and I'm calling it Cops Direct. And what do you think? And he goes, love the idea. But he goes, I don't know if you're going to get the public behind it, because the public's only going to want to support their local law enforcement agency. Someone that's in Fort Worth, Texas, may not necessarily want to support a law enforcement officer who's in Albany, New York. Valid point. But so we go out and we do this test direct mail stuff. And they helped us out on the fees and all, just kind of get this beta test going, hoping that it would potentially work. And the public was responding, but it wasn't huge, Eric. It was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of support here and there. But what we were saying was, riot shields and helmets and, belts and shoes and medical stuff and anything that cop needs, with the exception of a police car, Cops Direct will try and support it. And the public wasn't really biting. I was like, no thanks. And then what we did is, at this time, and it was really by accident, it was a great intersection, was we were starting to see more and more violence against law enforcement publicized. Cops being shot, assaults on law enforcement, all these things. And with that, we were starting to see an uptick in requests for trauma care equipment, tourniquets, chest seals, tourniquets, NPAs, the tube that you would put down one's throat to help them breathe, all that kind of stuff. IFAKs, in many respects, as the military would use in their individual first aid kits. And so we go to TAC Med Solutions, in that we've been using forever. And they're, to this day, I will not buy anybody else's product unless I absolutely have to. And I've seen it all. I've used it all. I've everything. And I go to Ross Johnson. I said, Ross, I'm working on this. And he goes, we got your back. He goes, just you tell us what product you need. We'll put it out there. We'll help you identify departments that need stuff to see if this is really real. And so we did. And we went out to the public and said, we are helping cops protect their own lives, protect the lives of their fellow officers, and protect the lives of innocent civilians when EMS can't be there, when seconds count, all those kind of things. And we were getting this support out because what TACMed was doing for us is they were saying, you know, because they're a for-profit company, their job is to sell medical stuff. But the bids that they were putting out to departments that they were following up on, they'd say, hey, you know, I'm sorry, but we don't have the funding to do this right now. We need your product, but we don't have the funding. Sorry, we'll talk to you later. TACMed is coming to us and saying, hey, let's donate this product to them and see how it goes. So we're articulating this to the public through direct mail. And the public goes, we support you. Every corner of the nation, don't care. So we found it was all about medical. That's what the public liked. And in our core, that's what we really wanted to have happen also.
Yeah.
And because I think an officer should be able to buy his own duty belt or his own, you know, patrol boots or whatever. I just do. But we're not going to buy ammo or a new sidearm or something. That's not what we do. And so it was
It'd be
just
a lot cooler if you did.
What?
I said it'd be a lot cooler if you did.
It'd be a lot cooler if we did. And that's not to say that we haven't helped some departments with some, you know, optics and things like that they needed for good reason and couldn't afford.
Yeah,
done that, but that's a 1% of everything that we've done.
But everybody wins with the medical gear. That's the big thing. Everybody wins. And for the public's own FYI, at least from my perspective, is medical training, medical gear has been grossly neglected in the law enforcement field for years in training. A matter of fact, a girl from my department, shout out to Brandy Camper, Officer Camper. If you
Hey, Brandy.
her social media profile, she's part of the humanizing the badge and all that stuff. But she created my department's TACMed unit. She was an Army medic, and realized when she got there, like, you guys aren't prepared. Like, if shit hits a fan, what are you gonna do? Like, we have zero training, and you don't. So, and we weren't being issued any gear. So with her, she got that stuff started, got a TACMed unit started, and then it ended up coming full circle. We had an officer get shot 7 times. I think it was 7. And because of that training and because of that unit, which he was a part of that unit, he was saved, and he's back on duty and all that stuff. So yeah, it's huge. And I think the public probably had not realized that until you guys started pointing it out. And that's probably why it was the perfect storm to get the support for that.
Yeah. I mean, we never want to capitalize, if you will, off of the, you know, the injuring and suffering of other people. And in our case, capitalizing means getting money to buy more product for cops. But, you know, to your point, you know, you look at, you know, whether you're in, you know, you can be in the big cities like LA, Chicago, New York, Oakland. And, you know, I mean, cops deal with this stuff all the time. They deal with violent crime, but the public doesn't want to think about it, or the public thinks it won't happen to me, or the public says it's going to happen, but I don't know how to deal with it. So I hope law enforcement does. And, you know, you look at where I always, as a father of two young boys, I always look to, you know, to the mass casualty situations around schools and things like that. school shootings, and you look at, had anybody heard of Sandy Hook before that happened? Had anybody heard of Columbine, Colorado? Had anybody heard of Uvalde, Texas? I mean, these were flyover cities. And it shows, Eric, and I know you agree, that bad things can happen anywhere. And they often happen in the most, Mayberry-esque of places with no warning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so while it's easy to say, we need to make sure that, Dallas police or Detroit police has everything they need because there's crime on every corner. I'm going to tell you something. I want the cop in my neighborhood, in my jurisdiction, in my community, to have the loadout that he needs to save, and the training to save my child's life when he is, or my wife's life, or your life, when you're laying there bleeding out because can we curse on this podcast or no?
Fuck yeah.
Because some fuckface with a gun has gone, or a knife or a bomb. I mean, welcome to the new millennium. People are using a lot of weird shit to try and harm other people. Vehicles, right down sidewalks, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And the average EMS response time, Eric, is like over 15 minutes when you look at every corner of the United States.
Nationwide, yeah.
Nationwide. And that number goes out the door when you've got an active shooter right there in a school, and the fire trucks and the paramedics can be sitting in the parking lot waiting. They were there, before the cops were, but ain't no one going in until that threat is handled. But in the meantime, there's a classroom of kids that are bleeding out and dying.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to point or comment on whether something should have been done differently or right or wrong with Uvalde, like everyone's squawking about. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't want to speculate. So shit, we need to outfit every single department with, that stuff. And that's really what we've been, doing.
Yeah.
And the response is just through the roof. I mean, we've got more requests now from departments that really need it than we have funding coming in right now. And that's how crazy it is.
I had Catherine Diaz. She's a article writer for Police One, and her focus is on rural police departments and how grossly neglected those departments, their training, their officers or sheriff's deputies, whatever you want to label them, just how grossly underfunded. They're just neglected. They go unseen. And this is part of that movement that she would refer to as, just the basic medical stuff. Like, how are they not getting the basic medical stuff? And their backup is 20 minutes away, sometimes hour and a half away.
Eric, I've seen, and I understand the chicken and the egg argument. Why buy this stuff if we don't know how to use it? We need the training first. No, you need the equipment first. Well, why train if you don't have the equipment? Well, why buy the equipment if we don't know how to use it? But tied to that, with the rural stuff, I mean, where we live out here, there are, it's becoming a wasteland of tract homes, but there's still a lot of farmland and long country roads. And car rolls over in the middle of the night, totally peaceful, no guns, no nothing. But car rolls over in the middle of the night and someone's ejected or it's whatever it is, and they're bleeding out. There's that one cop, and that's all that individual has and that is looking at to save them until, you can get a helo in there or you can get a whatever. And I mean, we had to save, I shouldn't say we, because it's not, we're just providing the gear. It's the cops out there that are doing the work. But we had a department, and I want to say it was in Alabama. It could be wrong, but I think it was Alabama. And it was, again, one of these flyover towns you've never heard of. And like 2 days before they got this call out, they had received from us some Polis collapsible litters that they needed stretchers.
Oh, yeah. And
they've got a missing person out in no man's land. Long story short, guy gone into diabetic shock, if I'm using the term correctly. insulin shock or whatever it is. And they found him literally about to die out on a levee somewhere, couldn't get him out without these stretchers that we just provided him. So, I mean, there's the save. And it's so the rural stuff, to your point, is just, you know.
And I will preach this. If I don't have the training, I'll figure that shit out. Just give me the gear. I can look at it and hopefully MacGyver the hell out of it, because that's the only chance sometimes these people have. We'll get the training, you know, whether I have to Google it or whatever it is, but just get me the gear. As long as I have the tools to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. So. Let me. Can I use the head real quick?
Yeah, you're good, brother.
Okay.
Get another thing of coffee then.
And then what we can do is I want to make sure that, and I got all day long to talk, so I just want to make sure that I'm hitting points that you want to. And I got a ton more stuff to talk about.
No,
but
good.
I just want to make sure I'm not taking over or, you know, whatever, you know, and I'm giving you what you need.
No, you're good. It's
okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I'm gonna run down the hall to the head and I'll be back in a second.
Sounds good.
All right. Do you need me for anything? Where's Adina? Do you know where's my body armor? The multicam one, is it up in storage or is it here? I guess it's up in storage.
It would be. Oh, you know what? It might be at storage because we.
In one of the Pelicans.
Yeah, we had it for Gates.
That's. Yep, you're right.
That was the last place it was.
Got it. Right. All right, I'm back.
All right. Let's see here.
But no, so
right.
Ross Johnson created
Hold
this
on one
tourniquet.
second.
Yeah.
1 second. We'll be quiet for a second. I'll clap and then we'll go back in.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2. All right. Sorry, we had to take a quick bathroom break and we're back. All right, sir. So as you were saying, I got coffee in the bottom of my cup. I got a refill of coffee, by the way. Black Rifle, shout out.
So we did Black Rifle's Medevac podcast for Troops Direct back in September down in San Antonio. Nicest guys in the world. So
yeah, I've reached out to is it Evan Hafer? Evan Hafer,
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I've reached out to him several times on LinkedIn. I just like you when you reached out to Fox News, not expecting to get anything back. So I haven't gotten anything back on that. Just trying to get him and talk about him, kind of like you, donating to the troops and giving back and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I've struck out.
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to send you over the information that I have. And go from there. So
Networking, baby, that's the way life works.
Yeah. So
but so you guys you got your tourniquets and whatnot from, you call them TACMed. Who do you get your stuff from again?
So Tactical Medical Solutions.
Tactical Medical Solutions, that's what it is.
Yeah. So and actually I have here, not props per se, it's just the stuff I always have around. But like is
that a tourniquet or Israeli bandage?
This is it's what they call the Elias bandage, and similar to an Israeli bandage. But I mean, so back in like 2004, Ross is he's Green Beret. I think he's with 5th Group and 18 Delta, so he's a medic, and they're doing work overseas, and as a medic, he realizes that the tourniquet that they're using is still truly from Vietnam, Korea, World War II kind of stuff.
Yep.
And just ineffective, especially with the lethality of stuff that, the human body hasn't really changed over, the past, 100 years anatomically, but lethality of weaponry and munitions has. So, Ross goes, I need to build a better mousetrap. And he literally is in the battle space creating a tourniquet that will work for the requirements that he and his former, or his fellow door kickers are, dealing with. So he goes out and, this is their tourniquets. It's what we all know and rely on now. This one's orange. Everybody likes to get green and tactical tourniquets. I'm like, I don't care where you are. You can be in, in Mali. You can be in Memphis. Have an orange tourniquet because you're not that tactical, whoever you are.
Yeah.
You just lost a limb or are about to die, and you want everybody in the world to know that this is on your leg. So
yeah,
don't go looking for it.
I think their argument is it's just like wearing a white t-shirt, a t-shirt underneath that's white. They call it the triangle of death.
Yes.
Because if they can see the little white triangle up here, that's where they're going to aim their gun. Now that's
yes, but you know what? You and I nowadays, no one's shooting at us, or we're not dressed in a way that a little flash of a color is going to throw it off.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you're in,
it's a bad argument. Let me put it that way. It's a bad argument.
But no, I understand why a black one is used commonly, for our military. No question. For us,
it's tactical.
Yeah, exactly. Get an orange tourniquet. So
yeah.
But so I mean, this is really what started everything that TACMed did, and we found out about TACMed because it was 2011. And 1st Battalion, 5th Marines was over in Afghanistan, and they contacted us, and I forget who it was, and they said, we need poleless litters. Now, again, this is a guy who has been in the car business and has been in the real estate business. This guy doesn't know anything about tourniquets, you know, chest seals, or poleless litters.
Sucking chest wounds.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So thank God, honestly, Eric, thank God for Google and search engines and the internet, because if I had to do this back in the 80s or the 90s,
Yeah. Internet changed the game for sure.
Yeah. And I go, okay, a poleless litter. I get the concept, but everyone thinks about the big, long wooden stretcher things. And I go, okay. And I think that he said, and actually, I know who it is that requested them. I remember the conversation, but I can't say his name for certain reasons still. And he goes, there's this company called Tactical Medical Solutions. Call them up. And so from there, it was, you realize kind of what they were doing. And, and they've been, they have been so behind us. And this, it's a plug for them, not by design, but I mean, they've been so behind us from day one with everything we've wanted to do that, Ross, Dan Stout, who's our law enforcement liaison, and everybody there has just been like, dude, we've got your back. However we can help, let us know. And
well, let's address that, because this is an issue that I've come across on the podcast. You get sponsors. Now, on my podcast, people that at least listen to me regularly know full damn well, anybody that sponsors my show, I'm behind their product personally.
Sure.
And that is how the life of law enforcement and military is in general. We aren't going to plug something or support something that we're not behind, because lives matter when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're shamelessly plugging, because the reason that unit asked for this company specifically is because they know the shit works when it matters most.
Right.
So when you hear us talking about these products and stuff like that, it isn't to make money. It isn't to self-promote. It isn't none of that. No. It's not a tick for tack. It's because it's working. And that's why we get behind this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's why I've got the sponsors I've got. That's why you pick this company, because it's not from your personal life experience. It's because the guys you're helping said this shit works.
Yeah. And it's not to marginalize the other companies that are out there, but I know what I know. And I know what I know based on my research and the feedback from the end user. And I mean, if a service member or a cop came to us and said, I want X product, and we know that there's better out there, we're going to say, okay, cool. We'll get you X product for whatever reason that you're requesting that thing. We vet every request too. I mean, it's not just we go, okay, fine, take it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Because there are some people that just see what they can get out of us, but we're a little bit sharper than that.
If they start asking for high point guns, then you know that they're full of shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, there will be, someone say, I need, this product. Okay, cool. We can get that for you. But there's also this that is better that you may not know about that we do. Just letting you know.
Because you're in that world.
So, and some go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. A cop does not have the time to sit there and, Google the latest and greatest, let alone a service member that's in a river in Central America, or in getting shot out in the savannah in Africa, real life right now. But I've always, I'm tired of tactical stuff. I mean, I'm just over it. I think it's just one of those things. I love researching and learning about it, but I'm not like, latest and greatest, because there's just like, there's no difference.
That's what SHOT Show's all about, man.
It's funny that you just said that, because this is why I haven't gone to the SHOT Show in a few years, because nothing changes year to year. You got to go to the SHOT Show like once every 10 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you
I'm
do your
I'm
listeners know what the SHOT Show is?
probably not. I don't think I've talked about it on here. You can let them
Yeah,
know.
but yeah, I think I still got my badge down in there somewhere from the most recent one. But we call it the shit show because
Yeah.
it's like
Organized chaos.
the part that I love is is the people watching there is better than anything. I mean, you can't get better people watching anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you've got the guys walking around with their tacta dogs,
Yep.
and they've got the vests on and stuff. And I get that there are individuals that truly need service animals, no question about it. But I do question whether all the people that have danger, stay away, tactical service dog, do not pet, actually need that dog with them at that time.
Right. Yeah.
And then we've got the range, the range safety officers, RSOs, and you can see them a mile away because they got their khakis on, they got their red polo on, they got a belly hanging out that's bouncing off their kneecaps, and they're out there, telling
the hat
from
the hat that sits really high up on their head, pointed down. Yep. Yeah. That's your range guy for sure.
So, and then you get the guy who's just walking with morale patches, like head to toe everywhere.
Yep.
And, it's like, but then the ones that are always funny is that there's often, a lot of my friends are nowadays in SEAL teams and in, SF and other branches of, the kind of the JSOC community, if you will.
Yeah.
And they always like having fun with some of these guys because, there'll be someone walking around, they got like they'll have a Trident like morale patch on their shoulder or something like that, or they'll have they've gotten like the CAG or Delta Force, flash and put on something, and so the guys go, "Hey, you in the teams? Hey, are you with the unit?" Oh well, and it's like, and I'm sitting there back there trying not to laugh, and I've got like the free beer just coming out my nose. So I'm laughing so hard about as they're going. But if people have never been to the SHOT Show, if you can get in, it's cool to go. But 17 football fields. I track my steps on this when I go through, and every day I'm walking the equivalent of like 10 miles.
Yeah.
Just going through everything, it's like
I went to the IACP this year, International Association of Chiefs of Police, and holy cow, that's the first time I ever been to it. And I think the first day we walked like 25,000 steps, and it's a 3-day event. And it was a lot of walking, and
it's nuts.
I'm not gonna say I'm top fitness guy, but I'm definitely in somewhat shape, and I was hurting after day one. I was like, oh man, my legs are sore. So
bring good shoes to those kind of things. So
yeah, for sure.
But I forget, we were talking about TACMed and product and stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about plugging products. I was just trying to put that disclaimer out there. Like, when we get behind a product, it's not because we're trying to make money or do any of that shit. It's because it's vetted by the people that use it, and that's what they're wanting.
Yeah, no. So, and I mean, there's the development of stuff is such that now there's so many items in every category of product where they're so similar that you're splitting hairs and it will make zero difference, when it's all said and done. But I mean, on the medical side.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Impact Tactical. Impact is a tactical outfitter for the men and women of our military, police, fire departments, and other public safety around the country. Impact's core beliefs is that fearless men and women protect our freedom and safety should have access to the best tactical performance apparel, equipment, and tools on the market. And they shouldn't have to go broke to get it. I've used Impact for about 11 years, and I can attest that they do live up to their core values. So you get a personal recommendation from me. You can find them at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com. And be sure to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
TACMed. On the iPro side, I love Wiley X. I like them better than Oakley. There's some old school companies that I love. Like Sotec out of Southern California makes a great blowout kit, London Bridge. But then you got the new school stuff like, Tier Tactical and Matt Bach and stuff like that, or Blue Force gear where, love some of it, don't like some of it, but,
I saw the Blue Force gear this year.
mhm.
I see the appeal. I've never used it, so I couldn't say for certain if I would like it. But
Yeah.
they were really pushing this year out towards us, so got a chance to see them. 221B Tactical, that's another company I really like. I wear their gloves and a couple of their jackets.
Yeah.
I got those nice jackets I like to wear. So, and they don't break the bank, so that's what's nice as a cop.
Well,
getting stuff like that.
I like supporting the little guy if I have the choice. If it's apples and apples, I'll always support the little guy because, we're all little guys in many respects. We're all trying to do better and make a difference. So,
Yeah.
rising tide lifts all ships, as they say. And,
Yeah.
but I remember when I was walking through the SHOT Show though, I walked by TACMED's booth, and it was recently, and I'm going to talk about some training stuff now because we were talking about that earlier. If you want to talk about that or hold on it, but so I go down to their booth and the SHOT Show. It's like downstairs below the main lobby thing, and in the little galleries down there, and they've got this dog they call it Diesel. And what TACMED had done is they had acquired, and I think I'm telling the story right, but they've acquired the company that did all of the animatronics for Lucasfilms and all that, which was needed before CGI and green screens and all that kind of stuff. So they bought the robotics company, and they've got this dog laying there, and I swear to God, I'm like, that's a real dog. And from no joke, from 10 feet away, I'm like, that's a real dog. And as I get closer, you realize that it's not, but it's actually constructed, I find out, with the actual hair they use for Chewbacca. It is Chewbacca's hair.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're feeling literally what,
Chewie feels like. Yeah.
Ford would feel in the Millennium Falcon or whatever they use, kind of thing, is that deal. But the thing is breathing, it is living, it is dying, it's dilating, it's whimpering, it is doing everything that a wounded dog would emote, and it was their new training stuff. And I'm like, What is this? And I'm talking to Dan Stout there, and I'm like, Dan, what is this? And he's like, check it out. And this was in the earlier days, meaning probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And he's like, you put a tourniquet on it properly, it will live. If you don't, it will bleed out. If you've got, decompression, you can, handle that. You can treat this dog and, get it back. It will respond to your actions in an appropriate manner to indicate that, hey, your training or your practice, your work on this dog is saving its life or not stabilizing it. I'm like, holy shit, that's cool. That's amazing. But don't really have a need for it. And we certainly don't have, $60,000 to buy one of these things. Yeah. But hey, that's really cool. And but on the training side of it, like we were talking about earlier, the chicken or the egg, I was talking to a lot of departments locally here, and I'm like, hey, I'm talking to the chiefs and the captains, and if you need medical stuff, let us know. We can help you out. We help our own community. I'm like, dude, we got stuff and it's collecting dust because we just don't have the training to use a lot of it. So I don't want to put it out in the cars because I don't want the liability of my officers using this stuff incorrectly, which is horrible to even have to consider when you're a cop trying to do good.
Yeah, you're trying to help, and then now you got to worry about lawsuits and getting in trouble through your own department.
Yeah, and there's one chief I was talking to around here, and I won't name the department. Great guy, awesome, leader. But he's like, I've got it sitting here collecting dust because we're just don't know what to do with it. And it wasn't his lack of desire. It was the lack of time, money, resources to get training going. And so, more and more, I'm talking to TACMed. I'm talking to a couple other guys that I know who in the military were 18 deltas, so medics, or they were, corpsmen or hospital men on the Marine Corps and Navy side of stuff. And I'm saying, how do we work on this, get more training going? So that's really been our next evolution of stuff, Eric, is getting the training out there so that departments that have the stuff already, know how to, here's the alternative, put it on properly and use it. And how do you tighten it and, all that, or, the big bandages, how do you use them? Or I don't mean to have these props here. I just literally have but I mean, America, this is what a chest seal looks like. And when you're shot, this goes over it to, stop it kind of thing. But
yeah.
And so then TACMed goes, remember that diesel dog? And I'm like, yeah. We got this thing now called an Emmett. And I'm like, all right, what's this Emmett thing? And it was Dan or Ross or one of the guys over there was like, you got to check this thing out. And it's a fucking human being. It is everything. It is a robotic cadaver, Eric. It is, it's got the penis, it's got the everything. It sounds nasty, but it's almost like one of those super real life sex dolls.
Yeah.
But it's for, training on, and you can change limbs out for whatever situation. But it started on the DoD side for dealing with, mega traumatic injuries, IED stuff, with where you've got, loss of limb and things like that, and how to train that. What they brought to the civilian and the LEO side. And they turn this thing on. It's got a remote control thing like your PlayStation with a screen on it. And the instructor can be like, okay, we're going to have, tension pneumothorax, activate. We're going to have femoral hemorrhage, activate. We're going to have, whatever, activate. And this thing, you literally fill it with blood.
Really?
And oh God, it's amazing. It's called the Emmett, EMMITT.
Hey guys, I'm Ross.
Which is an acronym for something. And there's Ross Johnson,
the founder and co-chairman.
This guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear the volume.
That if you're able to play that video of Ross, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the best 2 minutes. And what you see with Ross there is the real deal. He is the most humble, low-key, chill, dedicated guy you'll ever meet.
Let's try this here.
Yeah.
Oops. I muted, got rid of you. There we go.
Medical Solutions. When I started this company almost 20 years ago, I was a Green Beret serving in Afghanistan. And, my aid bag and our IFACs were quite a bit different than they are now. The tourniquet that was issued in our tac set was the same tourniquet that was issued on D-Day. And it didn't work then, doesn't work now. That's where the soft T came from. So I just went ahead and drew that design up, and I probably sewed the first couple thousand of those tourniquets up myself and gave them to friends that were deploying, and it was a very a personal mission for me. The goal wasn't to make money. The goal was to help my buddies, and it just kind of grew from there. Since then, we've added more products and more things, and a lot of those products can be traced to a day in my life or a day in someone else that works in this company's life. Most of them aren't good days, but if we can take those experiences and those moments and turn it into something that can help make your day better and make your job easier, that's what we do here, right? That's what this mission is at this company. We want to improve survivability, minimize preventable death, and the only way to do that is to learn from our past. And we've got a pretty good group here, lots of experience, and we're happy to share it with you. So, you know, we always are looking how do we do more for our customers, and we look at gaps in what we offer, and we've been doing things to fill those gaps. And it's not just through products, it's also through things that we're doing by bringing other businesses and making them part of our business. We brought a company that does medical simulation into the team. They're high fidelity, untethered mannequins, probably the best on the market. They are the best on the market. Now we're also making body armor. And you know, all of these things are geared towards either preventing someone from being injured or helping treat someone that's been injured, so we can, again, focus on that mission of improving survivability. We never say we save lives, because we don't. That's what you guys do, right? I'm sitting in an office. I'm not saving anybody. So those days are gone for me. But I know what it's like to be in your position, and I know what it's like to have a tough day. And anything that I could get on those days to make my job a little bit easier, I know I appreciate it, and I know a lot of you guys too. So thank you for being, you know, supportive of our business over all these years. We're proud of what we do. We're proud of what you do, and we're here for you. So have a good one. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, I did not intend to
No,
plug TACMed Solutions, so I didn't get rights for that or anything. So TACMed Solutions.
I'm bestowing upon you as one of their customers the rights to use it, and you can tell them to call me if they got a problem. But
if you're listening to the podcast and you didn't actually see that part, it does show a brief thing of the Emmett that he was talking about, and it literally had an arterial bleed happening out of the leg, it's spurting out red liquid that looked very much like blood. That was amazing. That was pretty cool.
And it's that crazy times 10. I mean, and I guess they've since created a female version, which, and it's the reality, you know, I mean, a male is constructed anatomically different than a female. Both are victims to stuff, and crazy commentary, but I've heard from, you know, good sources that they're actually going to make an obese version.
I was just going to say, what they really need to do is get a fat person, because that adds a whole new dynamic to things.
It really does. You know, I mean, like on that Emmett that you saw there, it actually, it's got or the one that we donated to Colorado, and we'll talk about it in a second if you like. It's got a gunshot wound to the pelvic girdle, and it's actually like shattered right here. And if you feel here, you can feel the gristle of the shattered pelvis.
Oh,
so you know what you're dealing with. But when you've got someone that should be 150 pounds and they are 300 pounds, you can't tell that there is that issue. You can't see some of the entry wounds and exit wounds. Did it exit? I mean, there's all these things, but that's the reality that a law enforcement officer faces. And, you know, Eric, when you're in the military, you know, often you get a little bit of lead time on, hey, we're going out on this op. This is what it's going to look like. A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Here's our intel. With a cop, your radio hits and you're somewhere in 3 minutes, not knowing really what you're going to. You don't have that same intel that a warfighter may have.
Right.
And so, you know, we don't know, is it a 300-pound person, a 150-pound person? Is it a male or a female? I mean, heck, here in certain parts of the United States now, you need a female half and a male top or whatever. I mean, it's the way stuff is. True story. My other best friend, two best friends in the world, he's a firefighter paramedic out here, and they actually went on a call, car accident, unresponsive female, unconscious in the passenger seat. Get her out of the vehicle. They're going code 3 to the trauma center, and they're on the line with with trauma center, you know, giving them intel. and they're doing the little flip and strip, strip and flip or whatever it is. And, halfway through the call, it's like, we've got a 30-year-old female, blah, blah, blah. It was like, nope, correction. You got a 30-year-old male.
Oh shit. Yeah.
But again, those are, it can be comedic, sure. And often it is, but I mean, but it's the reality of what law enforcement deals with. You don't know what you have until you are right there and then, and you're trying to get all this data into your brain while you're going code 3 to an event that you don't know if it's benign or if it's hostile or what. And then you got to take everything that you've learned, or that you hope you've learned, or that you haven't learned, and put it into motion right then and there.
Yeah. Yep. It's definitely one of those things that you hear about it, but until you're living it and going through it, like you can't appreciate it the same way.
Right.
And that's the hard part for guys like you and me, is trying to articulate and have these conversations and try to make people kind of look at it from a different way of thinking, and hope they see it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help.
Right.
So it may help them down the road. You never know.
And that's why the training side has been something we're really working hard to develop in conjunction with the actual product support, because it's easy to have a police department, and we can talk about some of the departments that we've supported if you like, but it's easy to say, hey, we're a police department, we need 100 NPAs
yep.
For our officers, for their cars, in case they need to establish an airway. But the NPA gets used and gets thrown away and it's gone. But the training that you get to use that NPA or that tourniquet or that chest seal or whatever it is, that stays forever up here. So with this Emmett, like we saw on that little TACMED thing, and I didn't realize that Emmett piece was in there, frankly, was Dan Stout goes, we've got Denver, Colorado, their greater area, their metro, is made up of about 90 different departments. And Dan goes, would you be interested in Cops Direct donating an Emmett to the greater Denver area, to their regional training facility? And I'm like, he's like, it's $70,000. And I fell off my chair, kind of thing. I'm like, holy, I don't know that we can do that, Dan. I never want to say yes to something that I'm not sure that I can, affect. Yeah. So true story. And I believe this is, well, that's an Emmett right there. Yeah. The male genitalia is actually modeled after an individual who is on television with a show that when there is a myth that needs to be verified or nullified, there is an individual on a TV show that does that kind of myth work, and it's actually his unit that was modeled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for
nice
that thing. So
kind of like they were out there busting myths, huh?
Something like that, yeah. And anyways, I don't know if I'm able to say. Therefore, I'm not going to say.
I got you. That's funny.
But yeah. But again, it's good that it's there. It's good that the guy's junk is there, because that's what a cop deals with. That's what a firefighter deals with. That's what a service member deals with. And we can go, ooh, so funny, but we all have it. And when the cops there working on us, or anybody, it's there. And
you don't give a shit when it's your life they're saving.
You don't care.
Yeah.
And so
I was gonna say we should. This may not be something you're aware of. I don't know. Maybe you are, but we can talk about the elephant in the room from the law enforcement perspective, is just how much training we have to do, to the point where it gets annoying. Like, you're like, fuck, I don't want to go do this training. I don't want to go do that. I want to do this. The one that I don't really ever hear a lot of people get tired of is the medical side. I don't, especially if you have good instructors.
Mm-hmm.
I did a TACMed refresher. It was just a 4-hour course, something simple. But even during that 4-hour course, we had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. But training and putting the right focus on the right type of training is a big deal.
Yes.
So when you're getting police departments out there and you're trying to tell them, well, you need training on this, you need training on that, you need training on this Emmett, you need training on cultural diversity, you need all these different trainings, and I'm just like, you're gonna burn these guys out because you don't. If you want them to be white collar, you're gonna have to pay them white collar, because other than that, they have lives as well, and you can't keep putting all this training. You got to pick and choose wisely.
You're exactly right. And it's the hard part of that also is that, you know, you can overtrain in that respect, but if you overtrain, then it's like, I should be out on the street, you know, serving the community. But if you don't train enough, when something bad happens, then it's, well, why weren't they trained on that?
Right.
And it's like, you know,
or when they are trained in it and you expected expert outcome on something that takes 10 to 15 years to become an expert in, and they got a 40-hour class at best, a 1-week class to be, you know, a lifesaver or a black belt in jiu-jitsu or whatever, you know, control tactics thing you want to talk about.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. You know,
and like your expectations versus the reality of this training, like you're going to get the jack of all, the master of none. And as long as you can accept that, we'll both be the better for it. But too often they expect you to be, well, they just had dog bite training. Okay, well, the dog was charging at me and I was scared. I'm, you know, what do you do? You can have all the training in the world, but if it's not your life and that's not your form of expertise, you're not going to get that expectation that the public thinks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that, you know, there's a burden that cops carry that and fight, you know, no one's going to fault a firefighter, unfortunately, no matter what. Everybody loves firefighters. You'll never hear the public or society vilifying firefighters. They love to vilify cops, obviously. Defund, you'll never hear defund the fire department. You'll hear defund the police. But you know, the training is huge. And, you know, to your point, you know, of people not getting enough of medical training. It's funny, but with this Emmett that we did, and so Dan at TACMed, he goes, you know, do you want to donate an Emmett to the greater Denver area because they need it? And there was this trauma surgeon up there, Dr. McCardle, great dude, who kind of was spearheading the acquisition of this. And he goes, you know, do you want to do this? I'm like, Dan, I don't know if we've got the funds to do this thing. It's like, well, it's going to take months to build. And we long story short, we saved our pennies. We made it happen. And there were some hardened cops. And I got a picture. I don't think I can show it from my side. But they're like, we've been through every training. We know how to save a life. Thanks. Don't need to show up to this thing. And they saw this thing. They're like, whoa. Like they were literally over like this, like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, these guys done it all. And they're like, I ain't never seen that before.
Yeah. Well, at my department, we use like pig carcass or whatever. And they have like these tube systems. They pump shit into it.
Yep.
However, like this would be a cool multi-use alternative, I think. So I'm interested in seeing if my TACMed unit would want something like this.
It's absolutely amazing. But what it does also that the public, we want them to understand is that it's simple math, where if you've got 90 departments in the greater Denver area that are benefiting from this, and it lives in Thornton, Colorado, which is just outside of Denver. But it's used, you know, through all the different departments there in the greater area. 90 departments. And let's say that each jurisdiction services 100,000 people. A lot more in Denver, perhaps, than other places. But let's say it's 100,000 people. Well, That's 9 million people, Eric, whose lives are impacted positively by the training that their law enforcement officers that protect them will get from this.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to put on, people saying it's good. It could very well happen to you in Columbine, Colorado, that no one had ever heard of. And so have this training, and the feedback that we're getting is just absolutely through the roof on it. I mean,
So that's a good transition, because one of the things that I'm wondering, and I'm sure other police departments are going to wonder this too, you got all this positive stuff that you guys are doing through Cops Direct. What are some of the negative loopholes, whatever it is? What is some of the diversity, I guess, that you've faced, that you've had to overcome?
The adversity with Cops Direct that we've had to overcome.
That's the word I was looking at. I said diversity, my bad.
Is not been that much. I think that the biggest issues, or I shouldn't say adversity, but frustrations is maybe a better word if I can use that one instead, is that what we do with Cops Direct and with Troops Direct, but with Cops Direct is like what no one has ever seen before in funding underfunded police departments, with stuff that isn't taking lives, but is saving lives in the world of mass shootings and shooting of cops and school stuff and all these kind of things. And we'll go out to, the larger media sources, and whether it's your CNN, your Fox Newses and stuff like that, with the exception of that one interview there that you see that I did recently, and nobody wants to carry the story. And people have told me, and I'm not going to say that I'm thinking this, but people have told me that it's because it goes against the larger narrative of defunding police and all that stuff, which is the bigger chatter than a good story of, hey, here's how police are helping out. They don't want to have that. And it's frustrating when you go out to the masses and you try and tell the story, but you don't get that response from the public. And it's like, and I think a lot of it is because the public thinks it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to worry about that. Oh yeah, that's a New York thing. That's a Chicago thing. That's a Flint, Michigan thing. Until it happens in our own backyard.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your town is known forever because of something catastrophic that happened there.
I've noticed that with people, victims of violent crimes. They could be the most anti-gun person in the world. As soon as they're a victim of a violent crime, it's usually one of the first things that they ask me as a law enforcement officer, how do I get my own firearm? What training do I, until you're the victim of that.
Yeah.
You don't see the same need. It's perspective. And I don't hold it against anybody that is anti-gun.
Yeah.
You just don't have the same perspectives that I have. And
right.
That's okay. It's a free country. I get it.
It's like if you smoke 2 packs a day and then you have a heart attack, well, all of a sudden, you go to your doctor and say, doctor, how do I change my ways? Okay. And so you pivot and you go from there. But it's the same thing that, gets me so ticked off about these people that yell out there, defund the police and, fuck the police and all this kind of stuff, is it just like anybody else, when something bad happens and someone's kicking in your door trying to rob you, you're not going to stand there and say, hey, I'm, a peaceful person. You're going to call the cops. You're going to call the fucking police, whether you love the cops or you hate the cops, you're going to call the cops.
Yeah.
And,
dude, I love, so I'm going to kind of sidetrack here. This is what I do. Sorry. I got the website up. So for those that are just listening, I got copsdirect.org up. Now, what you guys do that's a little different than I've seen from most nonprofits, you guys provide your financials right on the front fucking page.
We have nothing to hide. America, I mean, there's some of the recent invoices on one of the pages. I did this interview with these guys out of Amarillo, the chat, awesome guys. But like these requests right there, those are real requests from real departments. That because we want the public to know where their money goes. Our overhead is like this. We're putting as much out to cops as possible. So, hey, when I donate to you, where is my money going? Well, sir, ma'am, there's an invoice. There's the real deal stuff. And it's like that on Troops Direct as well. We want the public to see what we do.
Yeah, that's legit. I like that a lot.
But also, Eric, what we do is so different and kind of counterintuitive in the sense that the public can't digest that troops need this stuff or that the cops need this stuff. So when you're able to say, you don't believe us, there's the invoice. And they go, oh, wow, I didn't realize this. And that's why we've got the map up there that shows the states that we've done. I think it needs a little bit of updating. But I mean,
okay.
In 6 years, I mean, we've supported multiple departments in over 35 states. You know,
so you guys have been going 6 years strong.
6 years strong. Flint, Michigan.
Yeah,
Anaheim,
they need it.
Anaheim, California, where Disneyland is.
So tell me the process. Let's say I am a department and we're hurting and we're looking and I reach out to y'all. What is the next steps? I mean, obviously, this is what we're looking for. And then what's got to go down?
So if we receive a request internally, and like I look at Deputy R there, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department on the thing there. That sheriff's deputy will reach out to us and say, hey, we need search. And San Bernardino County, as an example, is the largest county geographically in the nation. It is the largest county by square mileage in the nation, bigger than anything in Texas, bigger than anything in Alaska. And so like they need search and rescue stuff for the mountains and for the desert and for urban environments, just like they need medical equipment to work in all those things as well. And so they'll come to us and say, we need X, Y, and Z. Okay, great. If we can source it all through TACMed, then great, because we know the pricing is going to be like literally at cost, which like about what TACMed does for us. And we know it's in stock, so they'll get it right out the door to them. Or we'll go to, if we got to go to Yates or something like that for rigging stuff, or Team Wendy for bump helmets or something like that as examples, we'll just jump right on it and do it. Here's our credit card, or invoice us, send it to that department, attention Deputy R in this case. Also, what we do, Eric, which is great, is we don't pretend to know everything internally here. So with TACMed, our relationship is such that they're dealing with agencies all day long. And they're putting bids out to agencies all day long, like they've done, since we've known them with cops in 2016. And so they'll say, hey, these departments really need stuff. We know they need stuff. So, they will recommend to us certain departments that need equipment. And there's never any agenda with that. It's just that they're, because like Dan Stout, who's our rep there, he's a retired cop. He was a cop for fucking 100 years out of Florida. And so Dan wants the best for the law enforcement officer, just like we do. So he's saying, Aaron, these are my recommendations if you want to go with them. And 9 times out of 10, we say, do it all right now, or let's triage it, what's needed right now versus later or whatever, and we'll stagger stuff out that way. So, cops are reaching out to us. Some are return customers. I hate to say that term, but hey, we need more support from you, and we know they do. Or TACMed comes to us with new, fresh, and organic departments that need stuff that we never would have been able to source, or the departments, Eric, didn't know that we existed. The public doesn't know. A lot of the agencies out there like, you mean there's a department that can help us get this stuff right here? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I like it. So it's really not that hard for them, is the point that I'm getting to.
That is correct. We do get human nature, perhaps. We get the departments that say, hey, can you hook us up with all this stuff that we really don't need, but we say we need? And it's like, hey, love what you do. Can't do it right now. Why don't you come back to us in 6 months? But, when you know that there's a smaller department or a bigger department that is, here's a great example. I had never heard of Spring Hill, New York, until Spring Hill, New York reached out to us for support. Spring Hill is just outside of New York City. It is, from what I've been told, is one of the most violent cities outside of New York City in the greater tri-state area. And again, never hear about them. But so, it's like, we got nothing. We don't have a pot to piss in here and we need this stuff. It's like, you got it. And so, but, then you may have a department, and I'm not saying I'm using this as an example only, but you may have a department like, NYPD right down the street from Spring Hill, and they may have everything they need. They don't need any supports. They've got the funding. I remember, having to help out Syracuse police, though, because their need was that they didn't know how to properly source bump helmets for their search and rescue stuff and some of their other emergency situations. They didn't know where to go, so they came to us.
I got
we
you.
got you.
I'll tell you one of the most neglected sides of law enforcement, because my brain's spinning thinking about what y'all do, and I don't know if this fits under the same realm, but detectives are notoriously overlooked because you're not in the streets, so to speak. I mean, I'm kind of a hybrid. I'm a detective, but I still work with a team out in the field. But there's all sorts of investigative tools that are out there that would surely help me catch more bad guys. Because we've gotten, you get those demo accounts and stuff like that. You get a free trial.
Yeah.
And I'll reach out in my own department and I'm like, hey, this is really helping me. I think it would really help other detectives as long as they're trained in how to use it. I had to figure it out on my own. I was like, but my trial's up and these people, rightfully so, want their, annual fee, which is, a yearly cost. And part of our, yes, one is to make sure everybody stays safe, but part of making other people safe is being able to catch these guys before they escalate to the high crimes. I do property crimes.
Yeah.
And all too often I end up seeing 3 or 4 of my suspects every year escalate to, aggravated assault, deadly weapon, or homicide, something to that effect. Had you let me catch him earlier, or had I had the proper tools, I would have been able to get him. So
yeah.
I was curious what your view is in your organization for stuff that is like that is an annual fee and is a tool, but it doesn't get looked at the same.
Well, I mean, again, this is something that we literally have never heard of is that kind of need. And so it's like, I mean, right here, right now, I mean, tell me more. What's this all about? I mean, extrapolate.
Okay. So there is,
and I hope that Titus Welliver, who plays Harry Bosch, is listening to this podcast so that he can get behind us.
Okay, let me show you one for example. I gotta log in first before I.
If you're able to show it, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. I am. I just don't want to show my. Shit. Maybe I can't show it. It's
right.
got my department and all that crap.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you the company name. It's called First Two. All right. And it is a investigative tool that combines like social media, Google Maps, and then like public information. It's like this all in one source. And somebody turned me onto it, and I started playing around, and I ended up getting a free account.
What's it called?
First Two.
TWO?
Yep. FIRSTTWO. And it's
first
this
2 weeks of pregnancy, first 2 political parties, first 2 men to climb Mount Everest.
First two, armed with intelligence, is what it
Yeah,
says
no,
on the thing.
I'm seeing it right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got this software, and I don't think it's widely known at all. I use the shit out of it, and it helped me. But
Yeah.
luckily, I reached out to the owner and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get people to see your stuff and use it. However, I've run out of my trial, and my department's like, we don't have the funding for it because we've got all this other stuff that people are using. It's not in the budget." And
Yeah.
I'm on the totem pole. I'm way down there, so my voice isn't heard the same way. Like I said, we're overlooked, and this tool in itself, and there's plenty of other ones out there. This is just my favorite one right now. It's one of those tools that would help me do my job immensely better. But it's an annual fee, and it depends on how many people use it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got an agency that has 1,500 individuals in it, it's $48,000 a year. That's a lot of
Right.
money.
Yeah. Now, do all 1,500 need it? No. In my instance for this, I do think patrol would highly benefit from this.
Mhm.
However, I would maybe just let the sergeants have a license. Let the field sergeants. So, hey, Sarge, we need to look this up. Can you start digging into it for us?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That way you don't have to spend 48 grand. But detectives need this. All detectives, not just.
And so, like,
property
what would you say is your agency size? 1 to 20, 21 to 40, 41 to 60?
Mine's huge. Mine, I'm in one of the top 12 departments in the nation. We don't mention the names on here just for liability reasons, but so for me, when I look at that, I would say at a minimum, I would want 200 to 500 users, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And that's a significant payment. That's huge.
That is.
And that's annual. So that's where I start looking at the numbers, and I'm like, all right, what if we dumbed it down to 50? Let's say their base level. You get 50, and then we look at the usage.
Mhm.
It's one of those things that you do every year. You reanalyze. Okay, I'm looking at 50 people. Can you guys tell me, are all 50 people using this? Yeah, they're using the hell out of it. Okay, that tells me it's got a need. They're seeing the value in it. So
interesting. And that's the danger of some of the software stuff, is that you sign up for all this stuff. Oh, we need it.
Yeah.
And then no one's using it. Then you take it away and they go, oh, but we needed that. Well, you weren't using it. Well, we are now.
Yep.
And it's kind of like this a little bit,
Yes, exactly. So me personally, I look at this and I start thinking about what you do. I'm like, fuck, I would love to have this, but I don't know how something like that works for y'all. And now we're talking about a reoccurring fee. Because is it after that year goes by, you're like, all right, you guys seen it, you used it, are you still using it? Do you have it in your budget yet?
Well, I mean, I think what I would, first of all, something like that, I've heard about the software products before, but I've never known that there was a budgetary issue for those kind of things. And so, I mean, I think that what I would do is, I know you can't name your department. So let's just say that you're with LAPD, okay, Los Angeles Police Department. You're not with LAPD, are you?
No.
Okay. So let's say you're LAPD. I think what I would try to do is I would want Southern Californians, Los Angeles residents, say, hey, everybody, wake up. Your cops are using this to help you out and keep you safe and get shitheads off the street. Although in California, you can shoot someone in the head in cold blood and you're back out on the street, a half hour later after you
before the paperwork's even done.
And so anyways, so and I would say, look, Southern California, LA, we need to raise this so that we've got this need filled so that your cops can do a better job at what they do. And it's not about guns and handcuffs and pepper spray and batons. It's about going out there and finding bad guys using technology. Also, when you know that if you say my subscription's coming up in July, then we are able to go out and work with you guys to get some momentum going to fund that thing locally.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me, we know that then every year, if these 20 people donated to it, we'll go back to those 20 people again and say, here's what your support did. Can we get that support again in 2024? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of what the battle plan would be for something like that. Support from Cops Direct or Troops Direct does not need to be something that is necessarily, tangible, like the Elias bandage from TACMED, named after one of Ross's buddies who died, on deployment. It doesn't need to be a tangible thing. Like training is not tangible in that respect. You walk away with it. So yeah, I'm totally open to stuff like that for departments. Frankly, selfishly, it makes our job easier because all we're doing is paying for a subscription as opposed to having to source product and get it over the thing. We would want to make sure though that the need was real and legitimate, and we weren't just putting, bad money after bad, because then we're depriving other departments of stuff they need because they don't have the funds.
Yeah.
But I'm all for stuff like that.
Okay. I was just curious because, like I said, I was an academy trainer for 3 years, and part of where I really developed my skill as an instructor was just looking at gaps in training, gaps and basically anything I do. It's how the podcast idea came up. I saw social media as this valuable tool, but we're not using it properly. We're underutilizing. So how do I improve that? So I just start looking at these gaps and stuff. Well, now as a detective of 3 years, I see training. It's a crapshoot as far as training goes for detectives, because you get in there and you get a batch of 3-4 rookie detectives. Well, guess what? You're being trained by whoever the sergeant designates as your trainer. And if you get a shitty detective, now you just created a shitty product with this new detective because that's who's training you. It's going to take you a year to get caught up to where this other guy got trained by an awesome detective and he's nailing it in 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's the gap that I saw with, as I'm doing this detective work, I'm like, there are so many good tools out there that I reach out, I get my free demo, and they're all about helping you and letting you test the product out to see how well it works for you. It works. And then you reach out to your own department, specifically with First Two. I just sent this email maybe a week ago. Hey, this shit's been working. I need this, and I need to get it to my guys. Now, luckily, the owner, he's just about doing the right thing. And he has set up free accounts for all these detectives, and he's kind of letting it go to see where my progress goes.
So
see if I can.
What I want to do, Eric, is I would like you and I to talk offline.
Okay.
When the record lights off, so we can talk a little bit more candor, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I'd also love to be able to be introduced to that guy, because as you've let me know that their software exists, I would like him to know that our organization exists.
Yeah, for sure.
It's another cool one. And there's a dad on my son's little league team, and he's a retired cop, and they've got, and I'm sure you've heard of this, it's some kind of software or app where you can talk to your what's the word? The citizenry or the victims or whatever. Or you can do your police work with your phone, your iPhone, your Android, but through this calling app, you're able to do all this calling stuff on your own personal cell phone, but it doesn't show up with your number.
Oh,
so it's almost like a masked app, and you can do all the texting, all the everything, and it journals. I guess it logs it into the respective reports and all that automatically for you, I believe.
That's pretty cool.
But you're able to work kind of after hours.
Yeah.
As a lot of cops do.
Yeah, I use Google Voice. I would give that out to all the prostitutes and stuff because they were good for tips.
Yeah.
They would tell you, they know what's going down on the streets.
Coming out of Oakland, believe me, I've heard stories. I mean, they know.
Yeah. It's always fun when you're getting a tip during dinner and you're telling, my wife's like, who the hell just texted you? I'm like, it's Kiki. She's off of,
Yeah.
she's over here. She's giving me a tip about somebody. So, yeah,
There
yeah.
are some stories I've heard from Oakland cops that I just can't repeat.
Oh yeah, it's
You know,
fun stuff, man.
above board, but just the stuff that they've seen and experienced, and half of it is just although it's tragic, it's so funny and comedic because there's no way that happened, and it did, and
So we've got it covered. Where you started from, how you got to where you're at,
yeah,
what you're currently doing, and all that stuff.
yeah.
What is the future? Where's our aim at now?
I want to, you asked me that question today in December of 2022, and I think that my answer maybe was different 3 years ago and will be different in 3 years from now, because I believe that you can't, Eric, you got to stay on task, stay on mission. Don't sway from what you do. An example of that is like with Troops Direct. We're not going to support the vets. We're not going to support the wounded. We're going to support the active duty. There's people that do those things, and it needs to be done. But we stay on task. But it bends and flows. We never thought we'd be helping the National Guard out because we're not deployed overseas in a war zone. We're doing so much National Guard support, it's ridiculous. So on the law enforcement side, I really want to start investing more of our resources as we amass more resources for training. And as we talked about earlier, I think that training enables the product that we give to be used much more effectively, and with a better outcome and with more confidence. A tourniquet gets used once, gets cut off in the ER and thrown away.
Yep.
Training lasts forever. The medical training is important. And I think that's what always will be in our DNA is tactical medical support for law enforcement, because they are it's kind of the mission statement. Cops are first on scene, lives are in the balance. The person's going to save the life is going to be that cop when seconds count.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. And, my kids in the pictures back there, my wife, your family, that's what it's all about. And so I want to work on developing more training. How do we do that? Do we have, is it a train the trainer function? That's a big thing that we're facing now is all these departments saying, yeah, we want to go for the training, but, it's going to be, paid time off. It's got to be this. It's got to be, post-certified. It's got to be only in the state of California or only in the state of Texas. They can't, all those things that we're trying to kind of overcome or know how to navigate so that we can better serve in the end the cop that's stepping out the door every day saying bye to his family to go do what they do.
Yeah.
I want to work on getting more agencies working together on stuff. I want, as it pertains to interoperability, where, you may have, you got, I'm going to use Southern California as an example because we're talking about this right now. San Bernardino County is adjacent to Los Angeles County, is adjacent to Orange County, the OC, is adjacent to San Diego County, is adjacent to Riverside County. But often they're all trained up and differently on stuff, whether it's SWAT teams, whether it's medical response, whether it's whatever. And I'm using counties here, but we could certainly be cities as well, but counties take up a larger landscape. And get them working together, and maybe you get the top 4 individuals from every county, and you get them working together so that they know the right hand knows what the left hand's doing, Eric.
Yeah.
So then they can go back to their municipalities, their counties, whatever, and say, okay, now let's bring this together for the entirety of the departments and take ownership of that, and really fine tune it. Because the conversations we have is that does not exist in certain places.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in law enforcement. That is part of the issues with law enforcement, and it's getting better, especially through like real-time crime centers. We're able to communicate and talk to each other much easier, and with video cameras all over the place now, you know, a pursuit that's coming in from, you know, LA dropping down into San Diego or whatever's next to that, like they can communicate in that aspect. Now you've got cars chasing in a pursuit. They're going into the next county. We need to be able to talk to those units that are out there that have nothing to do with us and know that if shit hits the fan, they've got the same type of medical training that we got. They say the same type of use of force training we got. I'm very anti-nationalizing police training,
Right.
because I think each culture has considerations. You know, it can vary city to city, let alone state to state. However, there are certain training, medical, the body is the same when it comes to California all the way over to Texas as it is to Florida.
Right.
So medical training, let's find out the best practices and make that nationalized. So let's find out use of force, because I think when it comes to use of force, it doesn't matter state to state, whatever. You just fighting is fighting, and figure out what works the best, the safest, and you know, you can tweak it as what's allowed per policy, because some places you can't use a closed fist. My department, you can.
Sure.
So like you just tweak it. So things like that. So when you're talking issues from state to state, county to county, you know, agency to agency, like, that is a big problem. And we do need to focus on better communication, because it's very nodal the way that it works. Silos, they call them silos. That's the hot topic word.
Yeah. But see, I learned to ask a lot of these questions of law enforcement by what I've learned through the military. You know, the way a SEAL team may work can often be very different from how a ODA or a Green Beret unit will work in the same scenario.
Right.
And so, you know, people think, oh, gee, you know, special forces is special forces, is special operations, is SOCOM, is SEALs, is Green Berets, is Raiders, is PJs, it's all the same. It's really not. And so how, you know, a state trooper trains up on something may be very different from how an inner city cop trains up on the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, getting that lined up. To that end, you know, we've been talking to a lot of SWAT teams, and, you know, again, interagency stuff is, I'm not looking about going out and how to go out and, you know, shoot up a whole, you know, set of bad guys and take on a, you know, a cartel or a gang or a, you know, John Dillinger and his men. But in an active shooter situation, let's take, just for recent stuff, let's take Uvalde, Texas. I wasn't there. I haven't read the after actions on it, none of that stuff. But we'll speak in generic terms. If you've got two different SWAT teams showing up to that from different agencies, you know, are they working together? How are they working to rescue and render aid under fire, as opposed to just, this is a tourniquet. How do you put it on and effectively, you know, stabilize the patient under any circumstance? Now you've got a bullet flying over your head because you got a shithead that's barricaded in, you know, in the 4th grade classroom. And how are you doing that? And I want to start working on more of that, Eric. We've got a great place back in South Carolina. It's like the Disneyland of tactical stuff. It's called the Sawmill.
Okay. I've actually heard of that.
Yeah, sawmillttc.com. And we go out there for troops direct, this thing called Operator Weekend, which we do a couple times a year, where we have guests come out and they hang out with active duty service members and do a whole bunch of tactical stuff. Yeah, there you go. And the place it's amazing. And we want to work on getting like SWAT teams out there to work either in the interagency stuff where you get connecting SWAT teams, or maybe you get Dallas SWAT with Atlanta SWAT with Seattle SWAT, and they're from different regions like you were talking about, and they are all working to learn from each other so that then they can take that training back and train down in more of the active shooter kind of stuff that you can do at a place like the Sawmill that you can't necessarily do in a vacated office building, in downtown Fort Worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have a great working relationship with the sawmill. And so, and this place, I mean, they've got every branch of service out there training. I mean, they got Green Berets out there training all the time, and SEAL teams and other government agencies. They've got places like that picture you see on the left there, where they can do medical work and stuff like that. And so we're
Yeah.
really trying to develop in the long term, to get back to your question, Eric, of where's the future? I don't know that the future is sending out tourniquets and chest seals and litters and search and rescue equipment, as much as it is funding the masses with the training. And I believe the training is done. And give me your opinion on this as a cop. But I believe if the training is done, it's a lot easier for a department to go back to the board of supervisors or the city council or whomever and say, we've received this training. Let's just keep it medical for right now. We've received this training, but now, and we know how to do it, 6 ways to Sunday. Now we need the support financially to go out there and acquire the product, because we know how to use it.
Yeah, it's easier to get the stuff after that.
Yeah. And so, maybe that's the road. Maybe, Eric, based on what we're just talking about here, maybe it's not about any of that. Maybe it's about funding. Cops Direct is just funding the technology that's needed to help, law enforcement agencies, resolve or prevent crimes at a digital level. I mean, I don't know the answer. Maybe it's all of it. Maybe there's
intelligence-based policing is the future.
Yeah.
That's where I've guided my career.
Mm-hmm.
I love being on the street. I love doing, that stuff, but you get a guy like me, or guys way better than me that have that street knowledge. You put them behind like a real-time crime center, and instead of catching 2-3 bad guys a day, they're catching 10 to 12 because they're guiding other officers using their skill set from an intelligence side of policing.
Yeah.
And it's keeping them safer, and it's utilizing all that training. So, yeah.
But in the meantime, the reality is that while you and I are, filming this, there could be right now a workplace shooting that's about to happen, or a school shooting that's about to happen, or there's a real bad car wreck somewhere where someone's going to, potentially die from their injuries. If it's not for the cop that shows up and they've got that equipment, whether they know exactly how to perfectly use it or not, or there's an officer involved shooting because a cop's going in to, serve a warrant or whatever, and they take one right there, and the vest doesn't help out. Is it helping? Is it helping? We've been asked, hey, will you help out with the I forget the name of the stuff for countering fentanyl and all that kind of stuff. What's the name of that? Narcan. Thank you. And it doesn't make sense for us to do that for a myriad of reasons. But I mean, so maybe that's the evolution, Eric, is that we're helping with the antidote kind of stuff for what cops are dealing with. You're patting someone down. They've got a grain of fentanyl on them, can fucking kill you.
Yeah.
You don't know it.
Yep.
And we've seen those, you and I have both seen those videos of, people having the reaction to those kind of drugs, cops, and they didn't even know that it was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bad, and it's everywhere. It's like
we've talked about killers. We've had conversations with departments that are trying to expand, their search and rescue capabilities, because they live in areas where they've got, mountainous or hilly or austere terrain. But they have to rely upon, the Forest Service or someone else to help with rescues because they don't have the equipment. So is it getting, departments that need it truly side-by-sides or dual sport motorcycles, or is it different comms? I mean, what is it? So there's all these different roads that we can go down. And if we had every oil man in Texas give us $1 million each, heck, we could do a whole lot more. But until we get there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this episode brings some more awareness your way. We can get some bigger donors down there. definitely like to get you linked up with some of the sources and networks that I've got going on.
I'd love
and
that.
See how it goes. Well,
Yeah.
brother, you got anything else you want to put out there? Where
No,
can
I mean,
people
I
find
just,
you?
I want to thank you for having, faith in, talking to a guy from Northern California with a crazy organization, does some crazy stuff no one's ever heard about, and realizing, hey, it's real deal. And, I truly, I think, companies like, TACMed and Wiley X and Team Wendy and, for everything they've done for us on the, on the cop side, and on the troop side. Cliff Bar has been a huge supporter of us. Gatorade's been a huge supporter. Muscle Milk, Altama Footwear, Team Wendy. I mean, all these people are behind us, and we couldn't do it without this. Frog Lube right there in Texas. We couldn't do it without these people every single day helping us do what we do for the people that truly need it. Because I don't believe that a cop should have to come out of pocket for medical gear that they need to save themselves or someone else, just like a service member overseas needing something.
Yeah. You know who should help you out? Who we should get to sponsor y'all is the one thing that keeps every cop sane and doing their job every day, and that is Bang. Bang is doing a bang up job with energy drinks, keeping midnight cops going.
No, hold on a second. No, hold on a second. Wait one. I kid you not. I'll talk to you offline about the simple answer is I may be able to help you out with that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was joking, but that's awesome. That is funny.
So PepsiCo distributes Bang.
Oh, they're the owners of Bang?
Yeah, or they're the distributors of it, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Just like PepsiCo has Gatorade, and they do a lot of the Muscle Milk distribution and stuff like that. Again, PepsiCo has been a huge supporter of us with the military for a long time. And awesome. So, we do with a guy here, former Air Force guy, Rod Prescott, and he's the rep up here. And just from day one, just whatever you need, let us help you out. So,
okay, cool.
And Cliff Bar too. Cliff Bar's awesome. So,
yeah. That's I don't know many cops that don't have a Cliff Bar just sitting in their go bag. That's the emergency food.
I'm going to tell you a great story about Cliff Bar. Okay. About how I met Cliff.
Okay.
Right? Cliff Bar was founded and created, in Oakland or thereabout where I grew up. And when we had the car dealerships, and this was probably 96 or 97.
All right. I was a freshman in high school. Keep going.
And I had just gotten out of college, and I'm working on the used car lot. And in comes this old, like, Mercury Grand Marquis or Crown Vic. It was, literally on its last limbs, it was sputtering. And it had these two big, huge Cliff Bar stickers on the back of the trunk lid. But in around where we are, people have stickered their cars with everything just to cover up the rust and the dents and stuff. So, okay, whatever. And out of the driver's seat pops this fellow, and he's probably in his late 70s, early 80s. He's got Dickies on, he's got suspenders and a plaid shirt. It's kind of the stereotypical kind of, Midwest grandpa kind of look. And out of the passenger seat comes his wife, and she's truly got like the moo-moo on and like the nylons that are down around her, her ankles kind of thing. And they get out, and I said, how are you doing? And he goes, I'm looking for another used car. And I said, okay, what are you looking at? And he points to another Grand Marquis or Crown Victoria that we have a lot, just like his, but it only had like 100,000 miles on it, instead of like the 300,000 miles on his.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, that one, nice, very, very nice guy. And I said, so I see your stickers. You like Cliff Bars? He goes, I love Cliff Bars. He goes, I have a Cliff Bar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and for snacks in the middle of the day. And he goes, I'm Cliff. And he puts his hand out, and it's like Cliff of Cliff Bar. It was his son's company, but he named it for his dad, Cliff.
Ah.
Yeah. And
okay.
And so and Cliff has since passed, but in the in the 90s there, he realized how much I liked Cliff Bars also. And so he would stop by with all of like the prototype flavors.
Oh,
And it's
nice.
like when Carrot Cake came out, he's like, try this, tell me what you think, And so it was a great story. But
Hell yeah. That's good
I'll, I'll
calories.
I'll tell you another story, and I think I can tell the story now as opposed to 15 years ago. But when we were doing stuff with Oakland police, the sergeant that I had mentioned earlier, who headed up the crime prevention unit, he had just been issued a brand new Crown Vic, and this was in 1998 or so, something like that. And I was, and still under this day, I'm a hot rod nerd guy. And you ask me anything automotive, I can make it better for you or whatever. And I go, hey, Sergeant, what if we could make your car handle better and make it go faster? Okay. And he goes, yeah, I'm all in on it. And he was a little bit of a rogue cop in his own right. So we go in and we put on some slightly lower profile, stickier tires, nothing that stood out, but just something that would grip better, bigger sway bars, better shocks, didn't lower it down because that would stand out. Went in, remapped the ECU and the engine, redid the intake, all this stuff, put a super silent, but like much higher flowing exhaust on it. And the car just turned into a beast. I mean, we just opened it up, but nobody knew the difference, right?
Right.
And so he's out on a pursuit, and they're in Oakland, and the guy that they're chasing is going onto the Bay Bridge from Oakland towards San Francisco. Okay. And as the sergeant, he's like the number 3 car. Okay. So he's got 2 of his people in front of him, but everybody's on the gas because the bad guy's on the gas. But sergeant is like just pulling ahead past everybody. He's got so much oomph in his car. He's like, dude, I can't keep the car back. And we didn't put a supercharger or anything. We just remapped the process, the basic stuff, but enough to where it was blowing the doors off the other Crown Vics that, had 150,000 miles on them. And he's like, and like the cornering and the handling was pretty, this thing's amazing. And it wasn't to try and do something adverse to city proper. He's like, this is better for me, but
right.
So it goes in for its oil change after 5,000 miles, and it's in the garage. And the one thing that got him busted was when they went in, we had put a new mass air meter in it, which essentially gauges how much air is coming into the engine, and it gives the appropriate amount of fuel in at the same time. And we had to get a custom one done for everything to work optimally, but it was chrome as opposed to just black. So when the mechanic was in there changing the oil, he goes, that ain't right. And he makes note of it on the work order. And I guess they pulled the car off the line, and he got busted for it. But we literally probably are still known today for having the fastest stealth Crown Vic nowadays, or from back then, that you could possibly have. But
that's the best patrol car. That was the best patrol car.
It handled flat, no body roll, no nothing, and you wouldn't have known the difference.
Yep, those were the best patrol cars. I miss the Crown Vics.
Yeah,
I'm upset that we lost them. We still have a couple at my department, but they're for training. They're not in use anymore. So, as much as I'd love to steal one.
Well, what's neat is out here the highway patrol has the Dodge Chargers, and I don't know how they are, for sitting in the driver's seat every single day, but they have the Hemi engines in them, right? And I'm going down the freeway, and there's this car, and I'm probably doing the speed limit.
Yeah, I bet.
And this car goes past me doing probably 100 easy, and just driving like an absolute idiot. And all of a sudden, I just hear the sound of this Hemi just runs, and that cop came ripping past me. And it's like, okay, Greg, I've seen cops pass me, but the way that Hemi sounded in that thing, you can never get from one of the Ford V8s or the Explorer V6s or any of that kind of stuff. And he just, it was pretty cool. So
yeah, the problem with those vehicles in the city is the low to the ground. You break off a lot of, oil pans and stuff like that, even with the skid plate.
Yeah.
High center and all that stuff. But well, brother, this was a good one. for those listening, make sure you go check out copsdirect.org. I want you to make sure you're hitting up
We
them.
don't sell the caps. I think I had this like custom made once upon a time. So
Yeah, that's me. I can't afford to do merchandise and all that stuff, so I get stuff made occasionally, and
yep,
we'll auction them off for fundraising purposes.
there you go.
So people know that, yeah, you're getting like a $30 hat and you're dropping, you know, $60 on it. That's because you're helping support the show, not because the hat's worth $60.
But you know, to the people that are listening, Eric, you know, yeah, hey, you know, I want, you know, the richest people in the world to, you know, donate to us so that we've got a ton of money in the bank. But at the same time, you know, for every cop that's listening right now, or every spouse or family member or friend, you know, I mean, if you went on and hit that donate today button and just made a $20 a month recurring donation, it's not going to break the bank for anybody. I know times are tight, but that adds up for us. I mean, if every one of your listeners said, you know what, I'll give $20 a month so that cops can have what they need no matter where it is, that goes a long way, because we're able to know then predictably what is coming in so that we can, you know, make sure that we're hooking up, you know, law enforcement.
Yep. I love it. I like it, man.
And it's tax deductible, because everything we're giving to the cops, we're giving it to them for free.
Yeah.
They're not getting a bill from us.
Yep. That's the beauty of the nonprofits, man.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate you. Stick around after I end this. All right.
Sounds good.
Take it easy, brother.
All right, dude.